Emily Forwell. I'm a nutritional therapist, and every day I go live on Facebook talking about some aspect of health and nutrition. I'm currently talking about hormone balance, following a request from somebody on one of my posts. So I think the last time I spoke, I was talking about flaxseed, and I thought I'd talk about a wider group of plant-based compounds today that are really useful for hormone balance, and they are phytoestrogens. So phyto simply means plant. So these are compounds that are found in some plants that have an amazing effect on hormone balance. So the way these compounds work is that they either latch onto, so every cell in your body has estrogen receptors, and these compounds can open up those receptors or they can close them down. So they make your kind of body's balance of hormones either greater or less depending on what your needs are. So if you are in a state of hormone or estrogen excess, so that would be things like heavy periods, PMS, painful breasts, and a whole host of other symptoms, what the phytoestrogens would do would be to close down the estrogen receptors on the cells so that you weren't so subjected to the impact of estrogen. But on the other hand, if your estrogen levels are low, so say, for example, you're in the perimenopause or the menopause, where your natural estrogen production has dropped significantly, what these compounds will do is open up the receptors so that they're more likely to take on estrogen, or whatever estrogen is still circulating. So they're called adaptogenic because they can do just that. They can adapt to whatever your body needs. So they can be very useful when we're trying to balance hormones. And there's three key groups: lignans, isoflavones, and coumestans. So the coumestan might be the one you're least familiar with. So these would be found in things like alfalfa sprouts, clover, so you often see supplements with red clover in them, legumes, soybeans, and chickpeas. Isoflavones are particularly high in soya products. People are nervous about soy. I don't think you need to be, but you need to have it in as a natural state as possible and ideally organic. So heavily processed soya mince, for example, wouldn't be a healthy choice. But if you were to eat edamame beans, so soy in its natural state, or fermented soy, that would be a really good source of phytoestrogens. And legumes also contain isoflavones. And then the other group are called lignans, and these are found in things like flaxseed. Flaxseed is probably the best source of lignans, but all other seeds will contain lignans. Grains, fruit, particularly berries, are really high in lignans. So if you are suffering with hormone imbalance, then I would suggest looking at your diet and making sure you have 3 to 4 portions of phytoestrogen rich food every day. So that could be having more apples, peaches, berries, apricots, figs, dates, prunes. Peppers are really high in phytoestrogens, chickpeas, lentils, beans, regular peas, oranges. What have I missed out so far? Olive oil is really high in phytoestrogens, as are olives. And garlic would be a good source as well. So there's loads of foods to choose from. And then in terms of drinks, then green tea is a good source of phytoestrogens, as is red wine. But you're not going to be surprised when I say this, don't have too much red wine. But of all the alcoholic beverages, it's got the highest level of phytoestrogens. So think about your diet, think about whether you're eating enough of those types of foods. My top tip, which I shared the other day, was to have a tablespoon of flaxseed every day. I think that's a fantastic way of getting a lot more fibre into your diet, so it's really good for digestion, but also very hormone balancing. And then look across the rest of the day and think, could you have a lentil dish or a bean-based salad? Could you add peppers to your salad? because you have a bit more fruit in the form of berries or citrus fruit. So hopefully that's been useful. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be back tomorrow with some more tips. Thanks for listening. Bye.